Previously, about a year ago, I did a video covering Ryosangata Riko, a wholesome slice of life series that elegantly portrayed the joy of building plastic models, which in turn helped its characters overcome hurdles either at home or at work. And I'm touching on it again because, as it turns out, Ryosangata Riko received a second season. However, if it was just a continuation of the original story, I may not have been as inclined to do a whole new video on it. I might have just written a blog post about it instead. But the second season of Ryosangata Riko does something interesting. It takes place in an alternative world different from the first season. That is to say, Ryosangata Riko, this wholesome show about building plastic models, has a multiverse. I initially heard that Ryosangata Riko was getting a second season in May 2023, and along with it, I heard that it was going to feature a new story, but would still follow the main character from the first season, Riko Komakai. At first, I thought it would mean that Ryosangata Riko would become an anthology series, which technically it still is, but the pessimistic side of me worried that it was some type of soft reboot or something. However, in the opening line of narration in the first episode of the second season, it explains there is a mass production type human in every world, Riko Komakai, and that this is the story of another Riko. The Riko of this season, or world, is the head of a startup company called Dream Crazy, which she and her two friends founded. Dream Crazy is part of another company called Dog Run that is running a startup support project that has multiple startup companies working and competing with each other in order to find and create a unicorn company, a privately held startup with a valuation of $1 billion US. Riko and her friends came up with the idea of making a food sharing app. However, a lackluster presentation results in one of the rival startups calling her a mass production type, someone who is completely average in every way. In an effort to do something new and spontaneous, Riko takes a different route home from work and goes to a store she's never been to before, a small plastic model shop, where the hobby of building plastic models leads to a turning point in Riko's life. Many of the cast members have returned from season 1, playing the same character, much like Riko still being played by Yuki Yoda, but they all have different jobs or roles. The major exception is Yasan, the owner of the plastic model shop, who has the same role, the same character, and is played by the same actor, Yoji Tanaka. However, an interesting change is that Riko no longer has an older sister, but instead has an older brother, and that older brother is played by the same actor as the love interest from the first season, Ayumu Nakajima. I felt that was kind of weird, but I guess anything is possible when alternative worlds are involved. What also completely changed was the part-timer who works at the plastic model shop with Yasan. In the first season, the young shop worker is Chiemi Ikuta, portrayed by Erika Ishikawa. In the second season, the young shop worker is named Ao and is portrayed by Yuka Ishida. The connecting thread there is that they are both part of the same idol group, Linkle Planet, along with Rami Amakawa, who plays Haru, an assistant at one of the rival startups. Normally, I wouldn't focus too much on the idol group an actor is in for a video like this, but it turns out that Linkle Planet are the official plastic model PR ambassadors for Bandai Spirits, specifically the Playmo Girl project. Going farther than that, their agency is listed as Bandai Spirits Co., If you're unaware, Bondi is one of the major brands that makes plastic models. And of course, some of their models are featured in Ryosangata Riko. I wanted to touch on that because while I know in my head that Ryosangata Riko is practically a half-hour commercial for plastic models, it does a good job integrating that aspect into the show. It's a nice blend of product placement and storytelling, though I do think the first season had a bit better balance, showing the model building and dealing with any character drama. If the first season was 50-50, then the second season was 60-40, leaning slightly heavier into the plastic model side of things. Some people might prefer that, but I enjoyed the balance the first season had a little more. However, much like the first season, the second season does a good job showing characters overcoming their problems and hurdles, with plastic model building being their outlet to reassess the situation, learn, and grow. There was a noticeable improvement in how those model building scenes were presented. The second season did a better job at highlighting the amount of time it can take to build a plastic model. The first season was okay at it, but had moments that involved paint or glue that seemed to dry rather fast. The second season here improves that by showing the characters waiting or having them take a break from building, and then going to get something to eat or drink. It does a much better job of showcasing the passage of time. The build scenes still have a calming and relaxing air to them, but at times they had some creative editing. A good example is a moment in episode 5 when everyone from Dream Crazy is building their own dom together. The characters are snipping parts out of the runners, and the cuts in the scene are timed to the music, resulting in a fun, creative moment. Episode 6 has Riko visiting her family, and I'm no expert on film cameras or anything, but this episode, especially the scenes in the car, seem to have a higher production value than the rest of the series. Part of that, I'm sure, is by design. This episode starts with a title card that reads, Ryosangata Riko presents Summer Holiday, seemingly implying that this is a TV special rather than a regular episode. It almost feels like an episode of an Asadora or morning drama rather than a late night, after primetime, hobby-based series episode that it is. I like that this episode could do something a little different, a little more cinematic, but of course it was still able to find the time to work model building into the story. Overall, the second season of Ryosangata Riko continues a lot of the themes from the first season, utilizing plastic model building as not just a hobby, but a way for the characters to take a break from their everyday work or family problems to find a solution, depicting those model building scenes in a relaxing and inviting way. I hope we'll continue to see more Ryosangata Riko, and circling back around to the multiverse aspect, it seems that we will. There are a couple of scenes in episode 8 that reinforce the multiple worlds aspect of Ryosangata Riko. The first is the introduction of Maika, who is here to help train Riko for a competition. The actress portraying her is Mei Arai, who is also a member of Linkle Planet. The characters have a quick greeting where Maika mentions that this Riko Komakai looks different from the one she knows, and after hearing this, Yasan quickly changes the subject. Then to really drive home that Ryosangata Riko has a multiverse, the series has one more person come and help Riko with her training, none other than Shiemi, who is happy to see Riko again and immediately calls her Zakune, which is the name she calls Riko in the first season, in reference to her building the Zaku. This Riko is a little confused by all that, and Yasan brushes it aside by saying that calling someone Zakune is a regional dialect thing. Very clearly, the series is pushing the multiple worlds aspect, that at least hints at a third season to come at some point. However, it's highly likely that Yuki Yoda won't return as the main character. though she could easily make a cameo in the future. I'm not sure how dependent fans of the show are as having Yuki Yoda as the main character. I imagine the main character in the next season will be either another Linkle Planet member who at least hasn't had a prominent role thus far, or it'll be another popular idol. There's quite a few that they could choose. Whoever it ends up being, I would like for the series to move away from the office setting that the series has had the last 2 seasons. Not everyone who has an interest in plastic models works a 9-to-5 office job, so a future season set in a department store, hair salon, or even a restaurant would be a nice change of pace while also potentially dealing with different problems compared to an office environment. Spoilers for the end of season 2 and possibly a little foreshadowing for the future, Riko eventually ends up leaving Dream Crazy and is running her own food truck where people can get a bite to eat and build plastic models. Maybe that's a subtle clue on where we'll find the next Riko, perhaps somewhere in the food industry. With all that said, what are your thoughts on the second season of Ryosangata Riko and its multiverse aspect? What type of job would you like to see featured in another season? Feel free to let me know in the comments below. As always, I've been Anime VISOR. Thanks for watching and see you later. Bye bye.